Welcome to the Leadership That Shines podcast, the weekly leadership training show that's built around 3 values that show up in everything we do: impact, influence, and growth. Whether you're leading a team, building a business, or learning to lead yourself first, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Natalie Davis. Let's get into it. We are back to the Leadership That Shines podcast, and I am your host, Natalie Davis, and I'm so excited that you have taken the time out to join us again this week, where we are going to take a look at leadership skills, attributes, and traits that every phenomenal, exceptional, high-performance leader should have. And this week's episode is very special because we have a guest. Our first guest, of course, no pressure. So we'll put that out there. As I mentioned in the first episode, from time to time, we'll have guests that come on and share their stories. And I had the opportunity of meeting Leah, just within the last month, connecting with her. And it's one of those things that it's the stories that we hear, right? Like the connection starts online and then it comes to be a connection that actually develops IRL, right? In real life. So joining us today is a phenomenal leader, and I feel a healer within many spaces that also is in the Colorado area. Leah Johnson, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. How are you, first and foremost?
Just taking a deep breath in gratitude. Thank you so much for having me, Natalie. This is great. And those connections that you just reach out and then they create magic. And that's, part of leadership, right? Is showing up and being there to do the work. And then you create magic and meet people like you, which is awesome. So
Exactly. Which here's just to let the listeners know, like, about our story. So I am, for the most part, on all of the platforms. I think the only platform that I'm not on is X, and that's because I've reached capacity and I don't have a team that handles my social media. Everything that you all see is me, and in some cases, my assistant. I don't want to discredit her for the support and the help on the back end. But we actually connected through LinkedIn, and you sent a message, and I am infamous for leaving those messages unread for an extended amount of time. And something just clicked. I saw the message come through, and you were looking for individuals to assist with speaking or sharing their story with you for an upcoming event that you had. And as I read it and I went over to the website for the event, and I was like, wait, this is me. Like, I'd love to do this, but I'm also happy to share this with other speakers within my network as well. And then here we are, right? We had this opportunity to connect and kind of share our stories with one another. I was intrigued by your personal story and the direction that you're taking your life now, the way that the journey is going, and also what you're working on with the event. So I just want to let our listeners know a little bit about you, and I want to give you the honor of sharing your story, so that you can share with them and kind of see, like, why I was like, yep, this is part of my tribe. This person is in my tribe. We're now friends. That's if we were in elementary school, it would be that way. It's like, we're friends now. Yeah. So let's just work with it.
I love it. I love
yes
now.
Exactly. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your leadership journey? And I'm going to say from the historical standpoint, because you have had an extensive leadership journey on the political side of the world. And so kind of walk us through that journey, your progression, and kind of to where you are right now and where you are today.
Yeah. So my journey starts in politician and, as of now, lands in painter. So we'll start there, right? So I had a 25-year career in politics. I decided very early on in my life, in high school, what I wanted to do. And I started working on campaigns. And up till 2024 was the first November since I was 14 years old that I was not part of something that was on a ballot. And so I put a line in the sand at the end of 2024, and I said, I quit. This space is no longer serving me, and it's time to move on to different ways to change the world. For me, I got involved with politics really young because I saw it as an opportunity to shift things and create systemic change and show up. And, we were talking, I just said that before, but like showing up to places where I could have my voice heard or try and make an impact and change policy or work on things that I was passionate about and cared about. And ultimately, I became an elected official myself, and served on my local city council. And, all of that was driven by this two things. One, my need to and desire to change the world. But over time, it really became driven by something that was toxic. And it was this addiction to success and my need to prove something and be the most successful ever, whatever that even means. And nothing was enough. There was no award, no campaign that I won. Nothing was enough to help me fulfill myself and finally find the contentment and happiness and joy that I sought. And so that's when I knew it was time to quit. Like, it did not serve. And I wasn't serving people in the roles that I was showing up for with the best capacity, because my motivations were I had to prove something. And if we're doing something from a motivation of I have something to prove to myself or to others, it's not a genuine, authentic place to be, and it's toxic. And so I said enough, and so I became an artist and a creative spiritual mentor and teacher and author. And I paint a lot, and it's great.
I love it. When you started out and you're like, I went from politics to painting. Like, I feel like that's perfect. Like, that's in terms of the transition that you've made. But Leah, there's so much to unpack there, right? I think when you talk about like decades worth of work in in the political space, when you're talking about ballot initiatives, I think just the general public doesn't really have an understanding of what that truly entails, like the heavy lift, and that's people or policy, right? Like when you're looking at that. And so there's so much that happens behind the scenes, and to start on this path in that space, when did you realize that addiction to success started, or where did it come from? Have you discovered that yet?
Yeah, I mean, it came, and I was telling you, I wrote a book about all this. So it's all in my first book. It's called Finding Fantastic Joy. But, I mean, it came deeply from growing up, and I didn't have a great relationship with my mother. And for me, it was love felt earned through those external validations. And so, starting early in high school, I did all the things. I was National Honor Society, student body president, captain of the debate team, captain of the golf team, all the things, went to a prestigious university, worked in national campaign politics on Obama's campaign and John Kerry's campaign, and was a field director for a U.S. Senate race and all of the things. And because the accolades were where I felt I could earn love, quite frankly. And so that came from that. And then my mother passed away when I was 30, and it became a double down kind of thing. Like, I needed the next success. And so I was deeply in a space of chronic PTSD, depression, anxiety, all sorts of active addiction to alcohol, which I would say was my secondary addiction, because really it was success that was first. And in the midst of all of that, I ran for office and was elected, had a baby, and then faced some pretty severe postpartum depression. And so I was not in a good spot, like, at all. And mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, I mean, you name it. I was suicidal, and I, in fact, attempted a couple times. And I finally got to the point where I realized that if I was successful at taking my own life, not only was I going to perpetuate the generational cycles of trauma and addiction for my kids, I was going to make it worse. And so something needed to change. And so I did. And I withdrew from my reelection campaign, which became a very public thing. And I said,
Oh, absolutely.
uh,
Yes. You can't do that quietly.
no, you
That's not a, I think I'll stop doing that now.
yeah, you
Yeah.
just can't quit those things and no one notices.
No, no.
Dang it. That would have made it so much easier.
It would have been so much easier because, those of us in other outside of the political space, I think if you're like an entrepreneur, if you work for a company like a corporation, you step out, it's, I'm taking a sabbatical or I'll be back or I just didn't finish that project so we're not launching it. Like it's one of those things. Not from the political space. We
Right.
know you're not there anymore. And your team, right? Like it's your constituents, it's your team. Like there's so many people that are relying on you at that point. So how did you build up the courage to make that choice? Because when you have this addiction and you try to cover that with so many other habits,
Yeah.
practices, whatever you had in place, how did you build the courage up to make that choice to say, I have to step away from this reelection campaign?
Well, I really had to look at myself, right? And that's the hardest part. Like, so
Yeah.
much of leadership is ownership. And ownership,
Say it again for the people in the back. That is awesome.
I mean, so much of leadership is ownership. And I had to own, like, I wasn't in a good spot. I wasn't making good decisions for myself, for what I wanted to bring to the world. And most importantly, for me as a mother and bringing what I wanted to bring for my children. And they were little. And, you know, I I needed to do life differently. And I will say, writing that press release and sending it is still to date the single hardest thing I have ever done. Because I was giving up my dream that I thought. I was giving up my identity. And I'll tell you though, it still took me 5 years working in politics after I sent that press release to finally shed politics in general, because it was so much a part of who I was that even after I sent that press release, I had to spend years unraveling that before I could finally just say, I'm done. I walk away. I can't do this anymore, because what I'm doing is I'm seeking external validation. I'm seeking permission. I'm seeking my worthiness from external sources, and I'm never going to get it from there. The place I'm going to get it is from myself and empowering myself. And for me, it became about empowering my creativity and telling my story to empower others to say, we need people in all of these spaces, but we need people who can show up, who are healthy and healed and authentic and real, and not putting forth performative spaces, which is what I felt I did, which then made me compromise my soul constantly.
Right.
And the healing that happens from that is intense. But in politics, I compromise my soul in the name of progress all the time. And it was finally just saying, like, I can't do this anymore. It's just not good for me and actually what I want to bring to the world.
Right. Yeah. I think that's such a huge step when you realize, or that you're able to say, I am making this decision, and remove that comfort of, but also what I'm doing is having an impact on the world. So how, the judgment that comes with that is like, how dare you step away from that? You're making such a difference in the world. Like, look how many lives you're touching and changing. And so to realize that that's not what's in alignment with who I am and where I need to go, and it just needs to look different. You can still have that impact and influence and empowerment within your community. It's just not within that space.
Right. Well, your ego, it kicks in, right? And it's like,
100%.
I'm important and I need to be here, because if I'm not here, who's going to do the work, and blah, 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 blah. And, by the end, even I was running task force and doing important work that mattered for affordable housing and homeless and things that I deeply care about.
Yeah.
But also, what I figured out is the work will go on one way or another. The question we have to ask ourselves and how we show up as leaders is, will you? Because if you can't go on, if you're so burned out, if you, I mean, I was having still at the end there, I was having panic attacks twice a week. Like, if I can't sit and be content and regulated, how am I going to go on to keep doing good work, whatever that is that I am going to do? And so we have to have those conversations with our ego and say, yeah, I know it makes me feel important, and I know it makes me feel like I'm making a difference, but could I be doing it differently? Could I be doing it better that allows me the place to be more aligned, like you said, and to do the work in a way that brings forth true alignment and authenticity and real vulnerability to the space?
Yeah, absolutely. That's You've uncovered something that I'm going to have to spend some time working on, because as you share like this addiction to success, it's so interesting because over the last couple of months, maybe six months that I've intentionally been doing the work, many years that I've been aware of it. I have this fear of success, right? Like it's not the fear of failure. I fail many times, and I know that I failed, and I own it, right? And those are things that I own most of them. I'm still working on. I don't need I haven't put it in the form of a book, Leah. Let's just say that. But I tend to have this battle with this fear of success. But as you share your personal story, I feel like the addiction to success is also running parallel and in tandem with it. And so it's like doing just enough for the ego, stroke the ego. It's the accolades. It's what you're doing that's important. Look at your, the journey and the path that you've been on, but also don't do it all, because then what, right? And so it's kind of this, if you do it everything, right, and you achieve whatever it is that you think that you're going to achieve, where's that fulfillment that you truly are looking for? Like, and very similar situation. It's your love is earned, right? Or the appreciation is earned. It's not just simply that you're worthy of it from the get-go. And I'm going to have to sit with that. That'll probably appear on a different episode, so you all just stay tuned. I'll unpack it and do some work. But as you said it, I thought, yeah, I can see where I have that addiction to success, and at the same time having the fear of achieving it, but still that's what's keeping the motor running.
Well, I think we focus so much on the outcome and not the process, right? Like, I say this with creativity, like art. I teach medicine painting all the time, and in my classes, people come in and I'm like, there are no rules. Like, when for creative purposes, for painting, for drawing, for whatever it is, we think that there are rules, because we think there are rules for everything. We are told exactly how to do things, and this is how we're supposed to be. And therefore, when we do it, it has to be done a certain way. And also, you can't just do things to do things. You have to have a goal. There has to be an accomplishment. There has to be an outcome. I mean, if you're going to paint something, it has to be pretty enough to put on your wall. I have a whole stack of canvases that are not pretty enough to put on a wall anywhere, but I love them, right? Because we don't give ourselves permission to create just to create. We don't give ourselves permission to show up in life and just be, because there has to be some outcome all the time. And that's where that success comes, right? Like, I have to set a goal and then I have to achieve it. And when I wrote my book, it's really interesting, because it was actually one of the first things, maybe the first thing I had ever done in my life, that the act of doing it itself was the accomplishment. That's it. Like, I had no idea. And now all of these amazing things and opportunities have really flourished out of it. But when I wrote it, I had no idea the life that I was creating on the other side of it. I had no expectation. I had no defined goal or end place I wanted to be. It was just sharing the story that was really important to me. And so, that was a real marker in my life of shifting what success looks like. And it's not the outcome. It's all of the things that happen to you as you're getting there.
along the way,
Yeah.
which is exactly where I wanted to go because, we go from politician to painter. It's the in between. Where were you? And kind of explain to us a little bit of your journey as you were making that transition, because we get these realizations, downloads, understanding, reflection, however it comes to you. It's not rainbows and daisies to get there, right? We know. So, what was that experience like for you? You had the 5 year of kind of, teetering off on the tail end of your political, professional experience, and then going into this new, fully aligned, fully authentic, intentional career and endeavor that's going to have an impact. But in between there, where was Leah and what was going on?
Yeah. So in 2019, when I withdrew from the reelection, I said I wasn't going away. I was just repurposing. That was what I told people. And in 2024, I'm like, no, I'm quitting. Like, I'm out. There's no repurposing. Call me, lose my number. Love all the work you all do, but I am not your person anymore. Right? Like,
Yes.
this is not. And I remember so distinctly, though. So at the end of 2024, I created a plan then. And my family, at the beginning of last year, 2025, we moved to Mexico for 3 months. I've spent a ton of time there. I lead women's spiritual journeys, creative spiritual journeys there. And so we moved there for 3 months last year. And so I ended my political experience, career, and moved to Mexico for 3 months. But the very last meeting that I had in the political space was towards the end of December. And it didn't go as I had planned. Actually, it went exactly how I thought it would. But it was
You okay?
right.
Yes.
But I remember walking out of that meeting knowing I was literally done. I'd quit.
Yeah.
And thinking, oh, all I should feel is just this sense of relief and just excitement, right? Like I quit. I did it. And now I have this whole plan. And all I felt was this overwhelming fear. Like, what did I do? Right? Like, I had this really stable space and income and work, and I am literally jumping off a cliff into the unknown. And I was moving my kids to Mexico for 3 months, and they were going to go to school there. And like, just all.
And people are asking and wondering, and you know it, right? Like, it's, what is she thinking? What is she going to do? Like, all of that, right? That's, yes.
Like, it was a very legitimate. It was the fear. It was just overwhelming. And I'd done so much work, though, and I got myself to that point that I had to stop and just give myself credit, right? Like, okay, honor the fear. These are all things that I am fearful of, which was basically all of the unknown, right? And that's what we do as humans. We stay in places of uncomfortable or even miserable because it's what we know.
It's familiar. Yes, exactly.
And it's the unknown that scares us. And I started going through all those moments in my life. And we travel a ton, which is really a helpful tool as a leader to process the unknown, because traveling gets you into unknown, but there's like control and different things. And I've even thought, like, all the times I've traveled and the fear that I had, and none of those things ever coming true, right? Like, and running through all of the things in my life that I feared, that none of them came true, that my brain created that narrative. And so I slowly talked myself down, because ultimately my greater fear was staying the same, was staying in that space and for another 10 years and finding myself even in worse conditions, right? And so as I had those conversations with fear, I recognized, like, and honored. Like, these are real things. I'm really afraid of this. But also, what I'm more afraid of is staying the same.
Yeah.
And so we got on that plane January 1st. And, now a year and 15 months later, it's been great. And I've
Yeah.
created all sorts of things. And I have a second book, and I have this event that you're speaking at, and
Yes. Yes.
retreats, and a community of women that I'm building to inspire them to release what I lived in, release that performative space, release that addiction to success, release the idea that we have to be perfect, release this idea that you need permission, that there are rules to the life that you want. And oftentimes permission comes from really in the form of validation, right? Like, we
Yes.
seek external validation to tell us it's okay to quit politics and become a painter. Like, there was no external validation.
I was going to say, no one's telling you that. No, I mean, it's very rare. I would be surprised if anyone in your circle at that time would say, we concur. You should absolutely do that. No.
I will say there were some champions. I did have.
There were some. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Kudos to them.
I had some great champions.
Yes.
But in general, I mean, society certainly wasn't giving me permission to quit my performative, successful career, to quit it all and become a creative spiritual mentor and teacher and author. Like, what? Artist? That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned a key thing, and it's, for any leader that is really looking at making a decision, if it's a personal decision, I think, or even one that impacts others, is like recognizing and identifying it, naming it, and honoring it, right? Like, that's what you took that time and you said, okay, I recognize it, I acknowledge it, I'm going to name it, and I'm going to honor it, but I'm also going to identify, like, what's on the other side of that? What's the alternative if I don't? And then that was that moment of check-in with, this is not, if I continue down this path, it's not in alignment with where I want to go and what this next season of life looks like for me, feels like for me, and how I'm going to have an impact in the world. And so the decision was made. Like, that was kind of the transition in making that decision. Actually just doing it, because you made the decision. You just needed to get on the plane to go.
Right.
Yes. I love that. Well, I want to change gears a little bit, because you are now doing phenomenal work within this space as an artistic spiritual healer guide in that space. And so you've led retreats. You're now hosting events that are at your studio here, and week-long retreats and experiences for individuals. Talk to us a little bit about this modality and the body of work that you are introducing to individuals, and how they're using that in their lives, like you said, to release the performative piece, to release that need for perfection, for validation, the stamp of approval, which appears a lot for a lot of leaders on their leadership journey.
Yeah, I think for me, it's been about creating a portal, and you can use that in whatever you want, spiritual or not. But that allows me to access something outside of myself. And I mean, so medicine painting, using art as a way to process trauma, is actually something I've done my whole life. So it's not a new thing in my life by any means. I journaled and painted and doodled and all the things starting in high school. And I have stacks and stacks of journals that I was utilizing creativity to process trauma. And it's a very scientific thing too, right? Like, we're, E equals MC squared, Einstein's theory of relativity. Like, it's not just this like woo-woo feel-good thing. There's science to back it up too, which is really amazing, that creativity is a portal to allow that transformation. And so for me, creativity is the modality that opens that for specifically the work I do with women, and opening that portal and connecting to whatever your definition of something bigger than you is, the divine, allows you to process and transform and then arrive and be who you are at your core, who you are inside of you. And so whether it's, a weekend retreat where we're painting on big canvases and you're letting yourself go, or a week long experience at an ancient site in Mexico where you're connecting with the divine and the ancestors there, as well as the divine within, through the power of creative prompts and creativity. But again, it's that portal. And so for me, it becomes the portal to the alchemy. The canvas becomes a way to alchemize all of this into something beautiful and create something beautiful. And creativity in and of itself gets hijacked in our society on, like, again, rules and definitions. But we as humans and business leaders and entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and all of them are deeply creative humans who are creating, businesses and ideas and events and spaces and empowering people. And so
we just filtered under the name of strategy instead of like creative, right? It's like strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the thing. It's for me, I utilize that because I've always utilized it as a portal to create experiences that allow women to tap in to what's been inside of them all along. We've just forgotten.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything special that a person would need to do to prepare for one of your sessions or a weekend retreat or a week long in Mexico?
I mean, well, the week long in Mexico, you need a passport. So,
yes, but personally, do they need to be in a specific space, headspace, spiritually, energetically? Like, is there anything that they need to do?
No, I always say bring in open heart, open mind, open soul, right? Because if you come in curiosity, it's such a powerful word. Like, if you come in with a space of curiosity and wanting to be curious about where that journey will take you, it's amazing how much you can shift and rewrite and transform yourself, right? And so and I don't know, noticing the critic and maybe leaving her behind for a moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think bringing in that sense of curiosity is completely different than coming in with an agenda, right? Like, I'm going to spend the next couple of days with you and these other fabulous people, and I am going to fix X, right? Like, or whatever it is, like, because that's really the issue that needs to be fixed anyway. I'm just saying, I don't do work in that space. I'm just guessing. I'm assuming.
Well, I mean, there's something to being intentional about it, right? But also being open. And it's like, it's funny in like the spiritual space, there's always, manifesting and all of these words and co-creating, whatever it is. All of that is great. And I will say, again, to anyone who comes to any of my experiences, I'll create the container. What you do with it is up to you. Yeah. So again, it's that leadership is ownership. Like, you have to own what it is you want to transform, but also being curious about it. So it's that being fluid, but then honoring too. And it's all of those combined, and it's a combination of them all in this cauldron of magic that happens, at least for me, through creativity.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. So not a silver bullet or just okay. Yes. Not at all.
No, I don't have any silver bullets. Life is hard.
Yes. Yeah.
I often say the hard is inevitable. The healing is our choice. So,
That's huge.
Life is hard.
Yeah.
I have a 12-year-old daughter. Life is very hard. Like
That's
I never realized how hard life was until I watched how she like wow. So life is
absolutely, absolutely. As the mom of two daughters myself, there's, on the other side of it, it's different, but it's a different kind of challenge.
yeah.
But you make it through, right? You make it
We
through, and it's
do.
a different type of hard. Yes, yeah. I love that. Well, Leah, you are creating another space for individuals later this year. So when we talk about like creating the space for the artistic medicine healing type of practice, that's one thing. But now you're opening it up to an event where you're holding space for women. Talk to our listeners and share about this upcoming event. I'm so excited and honored to be a part of it, first and foremost. But tell our listeners, tell our listeners what you've created, because you've just taken another step out.
Yeah. Well, just creating, right? Like we just show up and create. That's
Yes.
apparently when we give ourselves permission to, it's amazing what happens. So yes, in all of this, I've known that there was some specific juxtaposition to my time in politics to elevate my work I'm doing now. It just, there had to be like, I, to honor the work and who I was and what I experienced and all of the things I learned and all of that, but also that transformation. And so I actually started a painting at the December 31st of last year, and painted through the new year and finished it. And it became this banner. It was called Her Voice Rising. And it's this painting of this woman and all the folds of her garment and all the phases of life in the folds of her garment, but then just rising, and her flame and her energy coming out of her. And so I knew that it was my time. Like it was time to do the event or the work that was really about shifting from that space of being performative to deeply honoring who we are as humans, as women, in our stories, and creating a container that allowed women to share, and using the power of creativity and story and voice to elevate that. So that's where Her Voice Rising came from, is this idea that we can create a container to have women show up as themselves. And, we'll have speakers like you, yay, sharing their stories. But the part of the day that I think is the richest and the most connective is the open mic sessions, where anyone in the audience, any participant can sign up and just stand on stage and speak for 3 minutes in this container that's safe and empowering. And it's not about performance. It's not about public speaking. It's not about doing anything right or wrong. It's about just showing up and finding that voice inside of you that, for so many reasons and so many layers of our society, has been disconnected from who we are as women. And so reconnecting to that.
I love that. And prior to starting that canvas on the 31st, was this a thought, an idea, or you just had the feeling that there was something?
Well, I kind of joked that my third book, meanwhile, I'm still writing my second book.
Yes.
So, that tells you anything about me, was like sacred community or something of the sort. Like I knew at some point I would return to that. And this event is the beginning of that story. And because we need women to show up in all the places, but we need, and it's not about changing your roles or changing that part of it. It's about transforming who you are within those spaces and showing up with less performative, less, in politics, all I did was talking points and said the things I was supposed to say. And every time I did that, I feel like I left a little bit more of my soul behind, right? So how do we shift away from that mentality and shift into a space where it's deep truth, authentic speaking, because the world needs women's voices now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That just unlocked something for me as you talk about the talking points. And I've served in volunteer leadership roles. And that's kind of the thing, right? Like you get your talking points. Here are the key topics. Don't veer away, especially when we're visiting with like elected officials and things like
Right.
that. So you have stick to the talking points. Don't make it too creative. But now in my speaking space, when I have clients that reach out and ask me to do some type of training for them, and the follow up is, we'd like you to talk about A, B, and C. And there's a part of me on the inside that's like, okay, I can do that. I don't know if that's where I was going to get called or pulled, because there is this connection of being in that space and actually having the connection to the attendees in the space, and looking at where we are as an industry, as a professional, and where I'd like to take them. And so when I have someone that dictates, this is what we need you to talk about specifically, I feel like a little part of me is just like muffled. It's like, just the performative piece, right? Like, we just need your voice to say it. Say these words that we're thinking.
Okay.
But yes, I mean, that is, so it kind of stifles that creativity, and that's where I get a lot of my creative piece is being a creator, like a content creator. And I get so much fulfillment from that. So when I'm robbed of that opportunity, it hits deep. It really does hit deep.
Well, and it's not something that, even for myself, it's doesn't change overnight. It's not like these aren't lightning bolt things that suddenly everything changes. It's
Everything's better now. Yes. Yeah.
all incremental things that maybe you say one more thing in that speech that you really wanted to say, even when you're saying the other things that they ask you to say, right? So it's the little bit, it's the showing up every day. And like you said earlier in the conversation, how you were aware of things for years. I think you said like I sat with this, I went on my first spiritual journey and barely started to crack myself open 13 years ago. I mean, this has been a very long, sometimes not intentional, oftentimes, at least the first half, journey that parts of it didn't work. And being okay with that too, but that awareness and just one little thing, one little change, one little honoring of yourself, a little by little. Un poco.
Like the
Poco
one
a poco.
step at a time.
Poco y poco.
Exactly. Poco y poco. That's it. Exactly. I love that. Yeah. No, I love that. That's huge. And before we move on, I want to hear a little bit about your second book, if we can, as much as you'd like to share.
Yes.
But how can our listeners find out about the event, purchase tickets, find you? Give us a little bit of that insight so we can drop it in the show notes as well. I want to make sure that we drop that in the show notes.
Yeah. So I'm at Finding Fantastic Joy, pretty much on any social media platform. You can, if you look for that, you'll find me. And then my website is just www.findingfantasticjoy.com, and a lot's there. And then the event, specifically Her Voice Rising, I'll also send you that. It's on a ticket platform, so I'll give you that one as well. But we'll
drop the link to the tickets in the show notes. Yes.
For women to come out on June 26th. It's going to be an amazing day of just community and connection and empowerment and connecting to your creativity and your voice in a container that feels safe and empowering.
I love it. I love it. Book number 2.
Book number 2.
Where are you in that process? And can you give us a little sneak peek? What's it about?
Yeah. So I got it back from my developmental editor, and I actually opened it last night for the first time in a while. And I'm like, this is it. The next couple weeks, I'm putting energy into it and to get it in a polished place. But It's called Girl Baptize Yourself. And
Mm,
this
yes.
idea of reclaiming your own spiritual journey, right? So here are the things. In some ways, it's half memoir-ish stories, half purge the patriarchy, half um, release
Yeah.
and then receive, and the Divine Mother, and how my practices have helped. And in some ways, you know, it's more of a straight line of how I wish I would have done it and not how I actually did it.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, had I
So
known
it
this
has,
before this, I could have done this differently. So,
I was going to say it's your own reflective blueprint that would
yeah.
have helped you moving forward. Okay. I love that.
So,
I love how those things happened.
right. But I just think so often, again, it's about giving women permission to show up the
Yes.
way they want to show up, giving women permission to be who they are, giving them permission that you don't have to abide by society's definition of success and all the supposed tos that get laid on us over and over again. That your worthiness, that you are an amazing human just because you are, and you don't need that external validation. And it was when I realized that everything changed. I didn't have anything to prove anymore. I was just me.
Yes. I love that. I think that's going to be such a powerful tool for individuals, especially if you're in a certain generation, right? Like I'm a Gen Xer and I grew up in a very traditional, very conservative, very rigid in terms of rules household. And so going through my childhood, watching women enter the workforce for the first time, right? Like having that space and kind of the expectations. Like if you're going to be a business professional or if you're going to be a leader, then you have to dress a certain way and you need to be able to articulate things in a specific way and you need to show up in a certain way, right? And the performative piece that you talk about. And these are things that were ingrained in me from a very, very, very young age. And so to find time and space to actually address that and realize that you can just show up as your authentic self, just as you are, with all of the skills and qualities and attributes that you already bring to the table and have an impact and create a space for other individuals to feel empowered to step into their own sense of alignment on their journey. It's huge. And I'm grateful that you've written this book because this is something that I've done in my own personal, work and my own self-discovery, and it's a lot to unpack it, to peel the layers back, to realize the stuff that's not mine. Like that's not mine. And so getting to this space, it's a beautiful journey. I wouldn't trade it for anything else. I would have loved a blueprint though.
And I mean, the truth of the matter is the journey. I mean, each of our own journeys is what is so beautiful and what is so important.
Yes.
And there is no right way
No.
to do any of this. And it never stops. There's always more work to be done. There's always more things to unpack. There's always more to be discovered.
Yes.
But again, it's that recognizing, it's honoring, it's curiosity, it's all the things we've talked about, and letting that, simmer in that cauldron of your own magic of creating what you want in your life is how you just keep returning to it over and over again. Because like I said, the heart is inevitable. It will happen over and over again. It's just how we move through it, right? And if we move through it with the rules that have always been placed upon us, it's so limiting and suffocating. And then that's when we find ourselves so often in addiction and depression and all of these things. But if we can elevate above that, of the rules we're told, it really allows it to shift differently.
Yeah. I just got this visual as you were saying that, like the suffocating piece of it. And you were spot on. That's exactly how I would describe that feeling, is like coming through this and doing my own personal work. It's suffocating, But when you're in it, you don't realize it because you've learned for so long how to just take shorter breaths. It's like, okay, just don't breathe as much. You're fine. It's right. It's just like, just keep going.
I
It's gonna be
literally
okay.
wrote in my book that I opened yesterday for the first time the analogy of it felt like I was being held underwater and I was drowning, but I had no idea I couldn't even breathe.
Yes.
It's that.
Oh, that gave me chills. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. I am so grateful for where we've gone today. This has been fabulous. So much that I love this, that I bring you on to share your story, and then I end up unpacking things about myself that I'm going to have to bring back to our listeners later. But I do want to end on this piece. If you could give one piece of advice to our leadership that's listening to this episode, one thing that you would plant within them today that they could carry forward, what would that one thing be?
Yeah, this is something I say all the time is I had a 25-year career in politics. I am overtly aware of how the world is. But what I learned is I can't change the world living in it as it is. I can only change the world by living in it as I want it to be. And so that's what I do. I show up in the world as I want it to be, not disregarding the world as it is, but because I believe that is how we change the world, is by showing up in the world as we want it to be. So show up as you want it to be. Show up in joy, show up in authenticity, show up in truth.
I love that. Oh my gosh. This has been an absolute honor and pleasure. I am so excited. I'm going to see you in a couple of weeks. So just so our listeners know, I am going to do the weekend art. I think I sent you a message. I said, I don't know how to do things subtly. So I just signed up for the full 2-day, because why not start with a whole 2-day experience instead of a 1-day experience? So I will be joining Leah a little bit later in the year. And then again, oh my gosh, in person, fabulous space that we are creating. I cannot wait to connect with you. I cannot wait to connect with your tribe and continue to just pour in with what I have to bring to the table and just be a part of this space, this vessel that you are creating. I am honored. This has been an amazing episode. I'm so excited to get this out to our fabulous leaders in the world. Thank you for joining us, Leah.
Well, thank you. And we're creating all of this together because that is how we do it in community.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you all for tuning in to this week's episode of the Leadership That Shines podcast. Until next week, we will see you all soon. Have a good one. Thank you for spending time growing with me on the Leadership That Shines podcast. Every episode is built around the values of impact, influence, and growth. And I want all three of those to show up in how you lead starting this week. If this episode added value to your week, share it with a leader in your world who is ready to grow. Subscribe and follow so that you never miss a week. And I'll see you in the next episode.